I know we have very good local management, local emergency management along with the state. If you need help, call your sheriff, call your mayor, call your emergency management. We have every county, we have emergency management teams. But take care of yourself and understand that we cannot rescue you in the middle of a storm.
Governor, let me follow up on what you just said there. I know you were in touch with the sheriffs down in the coastal counties earlier today. Do you have any sense, or do we know how many people did not leave and decided to ride it out? We've anecdotally heard about a few, but we really don't have any kind of overview. Do you?
No, I do not have. I know I was talking to some individuals. I know it's St. George Island. People are staying there. I was down St. Mark's today. Already the Riverside Cafe, the water was coming up pretty fast. The St. Mark's River was heading in the wrong direction. It clearly was coming up and it was going to flood that restaurant. We're going to see a lot of flooding. I just hope everybody can evacuate. You still have time to get out, to get one of our 20 shelters that are open. Call. By the way, you can find out our shelters also at floridadisaster.org /public mapping. If you go there, you can look at it, find out where the shelters are. And just keep following this. But I know we can't rescue people during the storm. We've got a great team of people, but we cannot rescue you during the storm. We're going to have power outages. We're going to have water. We're going to have down power lines. This is going to happen.
And from what I understand, hearing you earlier, you have ramped up ahead of time people to respond to the power outages. Florida National Guard standing by. Have you upped the amount of people you have standing by as the forecast has trended for a stronger storm? Absolutely. Our utilities have pre-positioned assets. They share basic problems. So we have talking to the head of Florida Power and Light, which is now in more in the southern part of our state. They've already sent assets up to the northern part of the state. The utilities do a very good job of sharing assets and sharing people. I'm sure we'll have utilities from outside the state come and help us. We have 6,000 members of our National Guard on standby. We've already pre-positioned assets. I know we're going to be sending some of those assets. I know we have to send something down to the St. Mark's area tomorrow as soon as it happens, because they've already requested a high water vehicle because they know they're going to have a lot of flooding. So we have a very good National Guard. Our Attorney General knows how to do this. He's done hurricanes and disasters before. But I just hope everybody takes this seriously. This is life-threatening. And get your water, get your food, get your medicine, have a plan, have a background radio so you can stay up with this. Charge up your phone.
Indeed, Governor, it's just about to come ashore, so time is really running out for people there on the coast, and then a couple hours later in Tallahassee itself. Just because I know the question always comes up in terms of help coming from the federal government. I know FEMA already has some folks that you've been talking to there in Tallahassee. Do you feel good about the fact that we're positioned to get the kind of help we need into Florida and into the Southeast?
Well, FEMA, does a very good job. We have a very good working relationship with FEMA. But FEMA really comes in after the fact, and they have somebody stationed in our Emergency Operations Center right now. I spoke to today. But they come in after the fact. The first response is you. The first responder is you. You've got to take care of yourself. I can't reiterate enough that we can't rescue people in the middle of a storm and put a first responder at risk. And your life is way more important than your home. And so we can rebuild your house. We just can't rebuild your life.
And I know you mentioned, calling your local sheriff, your local emergency manager's office. Is there any other resource that you would like people who are in Florida, who are watching, to know about to get the very latest information from either your office or the local offices?
Well, you can go to floridadisaster.org. You can call 850-921-0217. That's at the state. But, you can call 911, call your local sheriff's office, call your local emergency management team. I've talked to sheriffs, I've talked to emergency management people all over the state today. They're going to do everything they can, but it really, really is up to each individual to be prepared. We're going to do everything we can, but this is, we're prepared, but you've got to be responsible for yourself.
Absolutely. Governor Rick Scott, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you speaking with us throughout the day as you get the residents of Florida prepared for this one. Welcome back in. We are tracking now Hurricane Hermine. If you haven't been with us today, this has been upgraded to an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane, just hours from making landfall, probably about 3 hours or less. I want to welcome in our viewers watching us on Local Now. If you're at risk in the path of this storm, you can watch the Weather Channel on your phone via the Local Now app that's offered in the App Store. Let's get to the very latest. Hermine continuing to strengthen right now. Sustained winds, as I mentioned, 80 miles per hour. 562,000 people are under a hurricane warning. We've also got a high risk for tornadoes across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Dr. Greg Forbes, our severe weather expert, is in to give you the very latest on that threat. We want to send things out to Apalachicola, where our Dave Malkoff has been spending the afternoon and the evening hours with worsening conditions. Dave.
That wind and rain just roaring into the Gulf. It is, you got to kind of hunker yourself down. That's not for effect. We are just making sure that we don't go into the water here on the dock. There is a very real danger when it comes to people who choose to stay in the middle of a hurricane. We were just listening to the Governor Scott interview, and he was talking about how we can't send out first responders. Not only is it dangerous for those first responders, but sometimes they can't physically get to you because there will be a lot of coastal flooding. And that's not only a prediction, that's something that we have seen firsthand, that there's already coastal flooding happening not far from where we are standing here on the marina near Apalachicola, or in Apalachicola. He was also talking about the utilities from around the state kind of gathering together. We did see scores of utility trucks lined up on the streets, and those utility workers were in the restaurant with us and in the hotels with us. They are standing by because they know that it is not a probability, it is an absolute that there will be some power outages around here. With this amount of wind and water and rain and flooding, things are going to happen where power lines are going to come down. And when those power lines come down, generators will kick in for some people, but for most people, they will be without power until those workers come and restore the power. And that cannot, absolutely not, happen during a storm. They're going to have to wait until this thing passes by. So there are bars and restaurants that are open here in Apalachicola. Most of those have shut down at this time, but we do know of one restaurant, Alex, that is bringing in a band for tonight. They are open as of 7 p.m. They have a band there for the residents who have chosen to stick it out.
Wow. All right, Dave Malkoff, thank you so much. We'll be checking back in with you. I want to take you to a tornado warning now in Lake County, Florida. This is a radar-indicated tornado, and it is moving 60 miles per hour, the motion on this one, as it moves off towards the north. So you're going to be watching the Fruitland Park area, Lady Lake, and Leesburg. Again, this storm moving 60 miles an hour. There's a lot of rain, so you're not going to see it. If you are in Leesburg, 8:45 is the time for you. Tuscanaga on your doorstep, 8:30. Is the expected time for you, and then Lady Lake and Conant as well. So we're going to be watching this. Again, we're going to check back in with Dr. Forbes in just a moment. Right now, we want to head over to Senior Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross. Brian, you know, water really one of the biggest threats with this storm, not just from the rainfall, but of course the storm surge.
At the coast, storm surge is already happening. It's coming in now. It's covering the coastal roads. It's really pretty much impossible for anyone that has not gotten out to get out because some of those roads are getting covered. So we just hope that people are either on a stilted house of some kind or they have left the area. Thankfully, these are not populated areas, but still there are some stubborn people that live down there in that part of the world, as there are in most parts of the world. All right, let's bring you up to date here on the latest numbers from the National Hurricane Center. Still 80 miles an hour is the estimated strong strongest sustained winds at the surface of the Gulf of Mexico, right outside the center there of circulation, and we're watching that pressure continues to go down, moving 14 miles an hour. So now steady on up toward Apalachicola and Tallahassee. Close up on that satellite, look at this. Now we can see a real center here. Now we don't have solid colors around the center, but we do see these cells developing to the south, so it's trying to form an eye. It doesn't have much time before it comes ashore, but a little bit of time, so we may get something a little above 80 miles an hour for the top winds when it comes ashore. Checking out the radar here, this confirms that we don't have a kind of a solid enhanced area with yellows right around the center. This is where the strongest winds would be on this right-hand side here. As a matter of fact, the hurricane hunters out there and found the strongest winds in the storm right in cells right there that we see are rotating around. So by the time this system gets up here ashore and maybe just to the east of Tallahassee, it looks like these strongest winds are probably going to go closer to Perry, and over there Monticello is the next town on I-10 east of Tallahassee. Not that in Tallahassee there won't be winds to take out trees and so forth, but it looks like now this center of rotation is going to miss just to the east, and that is a tornado warning. Dr. Forbes will be along here in just a second, talk about that in Taylor County over by Perry. Also, you see these bands like this. This is an indication of the way the water is driving. Keaton Beach, which is in Taylor County, and down right about there, the water is coming up fast, we have reports now. And as the system kind of goes up that way, that's going to change the push of the water in toward this west coast, and you're going to see it down farther south. So initially, up here where we're going to get the highest surge, and then eventually it's going to kind of move down here overnight when we get into high tide. That's when it's going to peak around Cedar Key. There's the wider view, and look, this outer band here, outer feeder band, is already up into Georgia, and that gives you an indication of the direction that the flow is taking things on up past Tallahassee and on up into Georgia and the Carolinas, and indeed that's the National Hurricane Center's forecast. So here's the timing. Moves by Tallahassee tonight in just the next very few hours, probably going by the Capitals about 10 o'clock tonight, or about 1 o'clock in the morning, coming ashore before that. And then it moves up into Georgia and gets weaker because it's over the land first. Second of all, there's a cold front moving in here, and that cold front's going to interact with it, and together it's going to get weaker, but it's also going to dump a tremendous amount of rain here in the Carolinas, and that's going to be a threat. A little bit of storm surge threat at the coast, but mostly a rain and wind threat through the Carolinas. Then continuing to weaken a bit and becoming more like a nor'easter here off the northeast coast. This is going to affect the weather, at least for a good part of the weekend, maybe for the whole weekend in the Northeast. That's obviously a little bit in the future, Alex, so we'll have to see exactly how that works out. But everybody up and down the coast needs to pay attention.
Yeah, you know, and especially with this being Labor Day weekend, especially across parts of the Northeast, where in some locations school hasn't started yet. This is your really last summer hurrah, and a lot of people do have those beach homes booked for the weekend. So definitely need to stay in with this track, stay in touch, watch the Weather Channel. I don't think you need to cancel your plans, but beach conditions unfavorable to say the least. With some onshore flow in some areas, we're going to be talking about dangerous rip currents and rough surf, and then of course the clouds and the rain. So when are you going to see the worst of the impacts? Well, for Atlantic City, New Jersey, we expect the bad weather to begin around 11 a.m. Saturday. The worst of it will come on Sunday, late morning through the afternoon hours. By 11 p.m. Sunday, most of it should be over. In Philadelphia, we begin to see the adverse weather at 3 p.m. It's Sunday, though, during the afternoon into the evening, where you see the worst effects. And then looking at, I guess it was New York City, Sunday also the worst of the weather. Here is a look at the radar and what we expect it to look like as we move into the day on Sunday. Notice some heavy rain possible right there along the Jersey Shore and up into parts of Long Island. There's our New York forecast with the worst of the weather around lunchtime.
We hired